So we installed the router from the last video. Now let's add it to our application and then set up some routes. We do add it in this main.js file, the exact same place where we added Vue resource before. And we do add it in the same way. We imported Vue router, for example. This name is up to you, from Vue router like this. And with that added here, or with this import added, I now again use Vue use here to add a new plugin to Vue. And here I add the Vue router. That's all. With that, routing is enabled. The router is added to the application. The next thing is we should set up some routes so that we can see this. Now you could set them up in a separate file and then import this file into this main.js file. You definitely want to register them here though on your root Vue instance, especially when creating single page applications. You will only have one root instance, this one here, and thereafter it's only about switching out components, which yes are kind of their own instances, but you will have only one instance created with the new keyword. So definitely register your routes in this root instance, otherwise you will not get the desired behavior and some problems and errors. And then again, you can set it up here in this file or outsource it. Now I will outsource it since in a real application you might have a couple of different routes and that could quickly blow this file here. So I will set up a routes.js file. Now in this routes.js file, I want to export a constant named routes, which should hold my routes. Holding routes means it has an array, and in this array we got a couple of different objects where each object will represent a route as soon as we register it, of course. Right now it's only a normal array. So let's create the first route, this first object. Each route needs a path. This is what will be appended in the URL to your domain, so after your domain. So if your domain is example.com, you get the point. If it is example.com and here you have a path of, let's say, user, then this would trigger whenever we visit example.com user. This is how we set this up. So we set up the path first, slash, and then, well, the name of this segment or whatever we want to be displayed in the URL. So this is our path. And then the next step is to set up the component we want to load when we visit this path. Now, since I visit user here, I want to display the user component. So I'll import it here, give it a name of user maybe, from ./component/user, user.view in this case here. So I import this file, and then I simply add it like this. This now will tell VueJS whenever we visit our domain/user, load this component. Now having only one path is boring, so let's add a second one. And let's add the home component here to it. So this component I created over there, that of course lives in the components folder, not in the user subfolder. And here I want to visit this, let's say if the path is actually empty. So this shall be our root route, what gets loaded first. This can be done by setting it up like this. So whenever we have just our domain/nothing, I want to load the home component here. So these are the two routes I set up here. Now having the routes in this file doesn't do that much. This file is not even getting used anywhere. So let's go back to the main.js file because I said we should register our routes here. So here is a good place to import our routes. So here I shall import from my routes.js file, and since I named the constant there, I have to use the syntax with the curly braces, and I can import the routes. Again, this is the constant I'm exporting here. So with that imported here, I can now, after using my router, so after registering this plugin, I can now add something. I can create a new router, also stored in a constant, and I'll name it new Vue router using this package I imported here. In this router, I have to pass an object where I set up my router. So here I set it up by passing routes, which I import here. Now due to ES6, if I just pass this to this object, this will automatically create this mapping to it. So it will have a key of routes and value will then be routes too. I can do this if I use the same name for key and value. So this is just a shortcut. This will now pass my routes to the Vue router. And the final step is to go to my Vue instance here and add the router to it. And again, I use the same shortcut where key and value is the same. This would be the long version. I can just pass router. With that, my routes are registered. Now we also need a place to render them. So we need a place in our HTML code where VueJS should actually load that component. So either the home or the user component. Because thankfully, it will not replace our whole page with this component. Thankfully, it will not do that. So we have to tell it where to load it then. So back in the app.vue file, which holds my main template, I'll add a horizontal line. And then we simply mark the place where the component of the currently active route should be loaded with router view, with this component. That's a built-in component shipping with the Vue router, and it tells the router, please load the component which has to be loaded in this place. Well, and with that, if we now navigate back and reload, we automatically see the home page because that is our root route. Keep that in mind. We set up an empty path for that. You also see our URL getter chest that it now has this hashtag. That's the default mode the Vue router works with, this hash mode. I'll come back to the available modes and how they work in one of the next videos. For now, let's ignore it. We can now simply add user at the end of this route to go to our user page, just like that. And this already is our router in place. We're able to navigate and load our routes. We set up our routes. Now, of course, it would be nice to have some links in our page so that we can actually click somewhere to navigate instead of having it to hard code in the URL. And well, we'll also have a look at this URL and see what this is all about with this hashtag. Actually, I'll do this right in the next video.